Rock bottom. Lost just about everything, right? You ever have that happen to you? I have. It's a terrible feeling. But what if losing everything isn't really the real rock bottom? What if the real rock bottom is that moment that you stop believing that you're worth rebuilding? Now, for some of us, there's this moment where things can start to fall apart. And sometimes it can be so slow and so gradual that you don't even realize that you've drifted away until all of a sudden you look around and you're in an unrecognizable place. And at that point, the real question isn't how do I get back or how do I recover? It's this: do I believe that I'm still worth rebuilding, reinvesting in? So I hit that moment at about 33 years old. Was it about 33? It was 33 years old. I had gone through a 10-year marriage that had fallen apart. And of course, that comes with all of the trimmings, the child support and the alimony and custody and visitation and all of those things. I was deep into debt, 5 figures of credit card debt. And what made matters worse with that was that I had no assets. I had no savings account. I had no 401k. I had no real estate. I didn't even have a car. And then there's the other part that you lose, which is the relationships, right? So people who were in your life for 10 years, for me, that was a third of my life. They're suddenly not in your life anymore. And you have to figure that out as well. So on paper, it really kind of appeared that I had wasted 10 years of my life. And if you think about that, starting at 23 years old, where you think you've got the world by the tail, and you're pursuing life with all of this passion and vigor, and all of a sudden 10 years go by, and now you're 33 years old, you're approaching midlife. But here's what nobody really tells you about hitting rock bottom. It's not the money, although that sucks. It's not the broken relationship that you have to figure out how you're going to recover from. That sucks as well. The worst part is the quiet decisions that you have to now start to make. And that quiet decision is, maybe I'm just not that guy anymore. Maybe I'm not that guy that I was at 23. Maybe I've drifted so far away from what I really, really wanted to be when I was 23 years old. And it's so unrecognizable at this point that it's not just about recovering from the setback, the money, the finances, all of those things, even your health and fitness. It's not just recovering from that. It's how to recover from who you really believed you were intended to be. You start asking yourself questions like, did I miss my window? Did I lose my shot, right? Do I still have a shot? And now maybe this is just who I am. I know I wrestled with that 1,000 times. I remember reconciling to myself, okay, I'm just not that guy anymore. Maybe this is just who I am. That's the real loss. It's not the stuff, I assure you. The stuff will come back. But that sense of identity, that sense of purpose, how do you recover from that? For me, what had to be recovered was my belief in myself. So a few months after everything collapsed, I was on this walk with the woman I was dating at the time, who is now my wife, and we've been together for 30 years. And I was already, what was interesting on this walk, I was already preparing myself for her leaving. That's how broken I was inside, that I figured, okay, we're a few months into this relationship, and now she's going to bail because she realizes I don't have anything to offer. In the middle of that walk, she said something that I'll never forget. I really truly believe that it was kind of a divine intervention. And she started asking me questions about what I was going to do at this point. And I was going through this litany of self-deprecation. And she looked at me and she said, Arnie, I don't get it. Do you just not see in you what I see in you? How are you going to get anyone to believe in you if you don't believe in you yourself? And she said to me, I think that there's something great out there waiting for you to show up, but I'm worried that you're not going to recognize it when you arrive at it, because you're so blinded by low self-worth. What was interesting about that moment was I wasn't necessarily feeling motivated or inspired or anything like that. I felt like I was confronting something that I really needed to confront, and I felt like there was some real clarity beginning to enter my life. I hadn't just lost money. I hadn't just lost relationships. I had negotiated my own self-worth down to zero. That was my less than zero moment. I was discounting myself, and then that's where everything shifted for me. My circumstances didn't shift overnight. It was a process. It was a leveraging of my self-worth, and it was being disciplined to things that I had not been disciplined to before. But here's what I realized, that losing everything isn't an end. It's an opportunity to recreate. It's an opportunity to clear the table and go, what am I working with here, and how do I do something with it? For me, I had to get to a point where I realized that I was an asset, that I had value, that I could add value to others, and I could add value to myself. After that walk, certain things started to happen. They weren't magical, they weren't revolutionary, they weren't this sudden manifestation of great things because I was thinking correctly. What happened was I stopped discounting myself. I stopped apologizing or disqualifying my reason for taking up space. I stopped assuming that I had missed my chance, and then gradually things started to happen. Career opportunities, professional growth, responsibility, a new marriage, wealth, kids who are crushing life. If you compare the first 30 years of my life to the second 30 years of my life, you might say I'm two different people. And that moment at 33 years old, where I became a second person, was the moment that I began to establish some high degree of self-worth. Here's what I know. Rock bottom is subjective. It's different things to different men. Some of us hit rock bottom and we wear it on the outside. Some of us hit rock bottom and we figure out how to quietly stuff it down and only dread it in the quiet moments of our automobile or our living room. What I can tell you is no matter what kind of person you are, you don't have to negotiate your life down to zero. You have value. You have something to offer. Sometimes it takes a failure for something like that to happen. Sometimes you have to start asking yourself, is what I'm doing truly aligning with who I really am? Because what I can tell you is this, and it's really what this video is all about. That 10-year period was not about losing money, losing marriage, losing connectivity, losing my health and fitness, losing my finances. It was about losing connectivity to what I believed I was truly designed for, created for. If it feels like things are falling apart, it's possible you have to start asking yourself a simple question, which is, where have I been discounting myself? When did I start believing that I wasn't worth rebuilding? Because the moment you stop agreeing with the negative narrative in your head, now you are positioned for a beginning. Now you are positioned for a comeback. Now you're positioned for a reset. Now you can start creating. You don't need permission to be who you want to be. You really just need the decision. I'm ArnieCAP. Thanks for watching, and thanks for sharing.